Greetings. Mutabaruka said something powerful recently about people in the Caribbean and in the region, like the Bahamas, Jamaica, Barbados. They tend to support some of these sports organizations from some of the most unlikeliest of countries. Who would have thought that somehow in the Caribbean we would be cheering for Brazil, or that we would be cheering for Spain in soccer tournaments and soccer games that are televised, and this extends to all organizations like the NBA, the NFL, but in particular, one region that we don't really mention some of these Spanish-speaking countries, right? Now, I've had the privilege of seeing firsthand the way the interaction between Spaniards and Africans takes place. I actually work with a company that is a Spanish-speaking company that came to the Bahamas to do some work. Big up Oscar Flores, big up Facundo, big up Enrique. But aside from these people I mentioned, I noticed that there was a trend of disrespect towards African people coming from the Spanish-speaking paradigm. And I found that it wasn't really isolated to Honduras. It wasn't isolated to Argentina. It wasn't isolated to Peru. All right, it wasn't isolated to Venezuela. This thing seems to go on a systemic level in the Spanish-speaking community, right? And so why I mention this, I saw recently there were some reports that the Jamaican people were in an uproar about Brazil, right? And I think I even saw some reggae artists saying that they support Argentina, they support Spain, so on and so forth. But we don't realize the deep seeds of racism that are planted in these various demographics in Spanish-speaking countries. In fact, the heckling and racial jeers that are actually known to take place at soccer games pertaining to Spanish-speaking countries is well documented. Many people have experienced seeing a banana peel thrown on the field during soccer games. People call people niggers. I think from the Spanish-speaking paradigm, they may say negrito. Okay, so they're calling us negritos. They're calling us bananas. It's so strange that a country in a region that was known for slavery, right? For the enslavement of the African majority who were brought here from Africa, but in a region in which slavery was a part of our history, it's so strange that we would cling so closely to a group of people who have been known for disrespecting us on a continuous basis, But what I think this really speaks to is the psychology of the African in 2018, which has yet to divorce itself of the trappings of the colonial identity. Here it is. I remember one encounter that I had downtown in Nassau, right? And I think I can drive this point home with this reference. Okay, so I was standing up, I was waiting for a bus. This was a few years ago. And some tourists were walking downtown and they had on some Green Bay Packers t-shirts, right? So I remember, to my shock, to my horror and my dismay, that one of my fellow countrymen was literally hanging out of the truck window. He was driving a red truck, right? And so just to get close enough to get these people's attention, this dude was literally hanging out the window, steering with one hand and balancing himself with the other hand, trying to say something to them. So when he caught their attention, he was like, "Hey, Lambeau Field, Lambeau Field," and I think that might be like the field that the Packers play on. I'm not sure. I think I remember him saying Lambeau Field, So I was like, "Wow, Dred, you mean to tell me, even after all that was done to us, we still feel that we need to have some association or connection with people just to feel like, I guess, we're civilized, to feel like we're doing the right thing, to feel like we're actually living as humans in the correct way? Why do we feel like we need to make these associations and affiliations with people? It's so embarrassing that he would hang out of his truck window just to get these tourists' attention. So I guess they can say, hey, that Negro, he knows a word that we use in our country. Hey, that Negro, he knows about this team. Let's give him some recognition. Hey, guy. So it was like, it was that kind of thing to me. I was just embarrassed, thoroughly embarrassed to see this take place, But the way I see people argue in break rooms on the job about LeBron James and arguing about football franchises, basketball franchises, places, these franchises originate from places that literally treat us like trash, But in particular in Spanish-speaking countries, if you remember, George Lopez, in his botched comedy routine, spoke about the fact that in his community, even in America, it is a taboo to bring home an African to your parents. So basically, they look at us with disdain, with disgust, like they couldn't ever see their family member marrying someone of our phenotype, our racial type. So the thing is, let's not forget that this thing is not just a Caucasoid thing. This extends towards these other groupings that also intend to use us as stepping stones to progress, degrading us and using us as modes of production to achieve their own goals. But for us to really cheer for these teams, apparently the majority of the French soccer team is African, right? Now, clearly, with the addition of so many Africans in these sporting organizations in Europe, this is a casual, or I should say a very overt admission that, hey, you guys do things better than we do, right? You're faster, you're more competitive, you're more athletic. So, this pretty soon, this is going to be like some type of arena sports in which the countries are like ringmasters, and then it's just like an all-African field competing against itself. That's what sports is growing to, because as more people realize that, look, the more athletic sportsmen will likely come from the African community. Pretty soon they're going to be incorporating us into every discipline, So not to stray too far from the topic, but in Spanish-speaking organizations in particular, they have a lot of disrespect for Africans. So we just need to really wake up from the slumber that we are in, this embarrassing behavior. We're better than this, okay? We're way better than this. We don't need to sink to this low level where we feel that we need to look to other races as an example about how to be civilized, about how to be a human, because the flawed education model will give us this impression that we need to look towards these cultures as an example about how to live. But we forget that there was millennia, thousands of years of human history, millions of years of human history in which the African was the example for the world to follow. We established all of these disciplines, and we were attacked, we were usurped. They usurped our authority and placed us in a form of bondage for hundreds of years, and we're not looking to be petty and get involved in frivolity or violence we're looking to overcome the obstacles that are in our path, but we need like an uninhibited pathway to progress, you know. So these forms of colonizer worship in terms of the sporting teams, this really needs to stop, because this indicates to us that we have a very short memory and that we don't really have a high self-esteem as a people, because you know we seem to be sinking to even lower depths of depreciation and self-deprecation, you know. So let's just think about all of this. Let me know what your thoughts are about what I've had to say. Let me know if you agree or if you disagree. Let's try to hone this conversation in on what are the essentials and try to find ways to make progress, because clearly we need to heal some aspects of our psyche, you know. But let me know what your thoughts are. One love.